Aloha, everyone. Welcome to Open Source Stories Season 1, Episode 1. My name is Capsev. I'm the head of developer community at Vercel, and this is the new series that we're doing. So, the open source program I started April of this year. So, we're like at what, 5 months? 5 months? Um, and we have two cohorts going. We have the spring cohort and the summer cohort. And I thought of this idea to get the open source project maintainers to tell us the story of why they built their project and why open source and all this stuff, just so we can understand open source a little bit more, understand these amazing projects. So presenting open source stories. So episode one, season one, episode one has Ryan Vogel. Let's bring Ryan to the stage.
Hello, how we doing?
Ryan, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah,
So
it's the
you
the
are
pilot episode. It's
a pilot
exciting.
episode.
I know.
Yeah, pressure's on, but it's gonna be good. So you are summer cohort, correct?
I am. That's correct.
Cool. And there's, I think, 28 of you in the summer cohort.
If I recall. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a stacked cohort, and everyone's in for an entire year. So although you started in summer, the support is like a year long. Um, so cohorts will like overlap. So right now you're overlapping with spring. October opens in like 3 weeks. I can't believe we're already at the fall cohort. But you are the creator of Inbound. Tell us a little bit about Inbound.
So, Inbound's an interesting story, and it kind of links back to every single project I've ever created. The original core concern came up when I was developing an app called Agenda. And Agenda, as I'll pull up the screen right here,
Okay.
Agenda is essentially this AI native to do app. You can see where you can like type in like tell me to walk my dog tomorrow night. And it's probably not going to work because we're live, but we will. This has since been deprecated. Oh, look at that.
Mm,
It works. Amazing. But, anyways, it's a way that you can add in AI to dos. And this is great, but this is the only interface that you could interface it with. And I was like, you know what I hate is when I get an email of like a package being delivered and it's like, hey, from UPS, you need to be at your house from like 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow to pick up this package. I'm like, oh, why? I don't need this. I just wish I could like set a reminder for like the specific time. And I
yeah.
was like, that'd be great if I could set up email addresses inside of Agenda that are linked to like people's personal workspaces and stuff like that. And that kind of led me to the problems of like finding a good email provider. And I was like, Cloudflare works a little bit, nothing to diss on them. It just doesn't seem like their foremost product. And then I kind of looked into some of the enterprise solutions like Postmark and all of these other ones. And they're just expensive. They are janky. They are not optimized for developers. And I was like, I've got some background in AWS and I've got some background in infrastructure. That was my previous job before I was a developer at Databricks. And I was like, I can build this. This seems reasonable. So I dove into the docs of AWS, sending and receiving, and I built an MVP earlier this year. I can't remember when it was exactly, um, but I built an MVP that basically just sort of took an inbound email and translated it to a type safe webhook. So, for example, we've got this email over here, just a simple generic AI generated email for the show. And it's like, hello, we got the subject, we got Dear Sarah Thompson, blah, 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 right? What if I could get this information into a webhook that's type safe, JSON, all the different levels, and expose that to like an agent to answer on my behalf? So I'll dive into how a little bit of it works in a bit, but this is basically that webhook that you get. You can set it up to like this webhook.site or whatever in your app, and it just sort of parses out everything in that email. It can get your recipient, the to, the from, the email address from the from. You can get the text body of the email. You can get the HTML body of the email. And if you're really trying to go crazy, you can get the raw email payload structure. None of the other services offer this. And I'm like, why? Because this raw email path was actually part of an interesting project I did with the CEO of Vercel. He was getting some malicious X emails that people were like, hey, log into this email and pull it up. And
Oh,
he was like, well, there should be a way that AI can like pre-flight this. But the issue with like Gmail and Outlook and some of these other services, they don't really let you reach in to get the raw information of those services. So I essentially had him forward me to an inbound email address that had an AI set up on it. And what the AI would do is when it received the email, it wouldn't look at the text, it wouldn't look at the HTML body, it would look at the full raw email message. And that's where some of like the advanced email stuff like DKIM, DMARC, and SPF that provide additional verification for emails kind of threw up some red flags for the AI agent. And it was able to essentially give a simple verdict: this is spam, in like 2 seconds.
so G's using this. Nice.
Yeah,
And so this is like email for developers.
it is. Yeah.
Like you're creating webhooks that are looking at the email, making sure it's, is it like creating a task or is it like what's happening after it's reading it?
So that is entirely up to you. Essentially,
Okay.
you can configure in the inbound app, and I won't get into all of the specifics of it. I'll just give the high level. Essentially, what you do in the inbound app is you create an endpoint and you create an email address, and then you link them together. So whenever that email address receives an email from wherever, it will then trigger that endpoint. And that endpoint can be an email address, an email group, or a webhook. And I've personally implemented this for my 3D printing company. All support emails go through inbound and do a pre-flight with an AI agent that checks to see if they have an order, checks to see if they've been a past customer, and checks to see if there are files in the email that they might want to get a quote on. And it has connected MCPs that can do those actions. So it's eliminated the need for about 30 or 40% of all support emails, and they just get auto handled. Because if someone's like, hey, where's my order at? I don't need to really be in that sort of task. The AI can just go and grab that information and say, hey, looks like we're experiencing some delays with the shipping provider. It's still on time. Here you go. So I created inbound out of that need and agenda where I was like, this just doesn't exist yet. And I've just now built on that. Additionally, it started with just email receiving. Now we also do sending. And the
Mm.
biggest part that we're going to be releasing in a couple of days, or re releasing really, is the replies API. So you can receive an email, the AI agent can process it, do whatever it wants with it, and then you can just do inbound.reply, and it replies like a standard, whatever the threading is in Gmail or
Yeah.
Outlook. And it just looks nice. And that's
So
my thing.
so that makes sense because when I emailed you saying that you were in the OSS program, you didn't get it. Well, it went to spam, correct?
It was
Or
a
what
couple.
happened?
That's actually a really funny story, if I can go into that.
Yeah, go
So
into it.
that was the early days of inbound, and the way that you sent that email is everyone you sent it to yourself, but then everyone else was a BCC, which is fairly
Mhm.
common in the industry when sending out mass emails because you obviously don't want to leak other people's email addresses. But the way the wording was sent in
Yeah.
the email is it feel not spammy, but it was like click this link now because obviously you wanted us to sign up for the program and make sure that we are confirmed in our slots. So the reasoning behind it was fair. But the AI agent that I have doing on my pre-flight stuff for Ryan at inbound.new, that email address, it was like, that's suspicious. And what it decided to do was not deliver it, but just keep it in inbound. So I could go
Okay.
after it. I looked it up, but it was like the product worked, but it also didn't. But it's just a fun story of like the innovation and the iteration with that.
Well, it's good because it like gave me feedback on how to make that email a little bit better. Because it's like, please reply to this email, which that's just like standard wording, but like I can make that line a little bit better. So
Exactly.
inbound
Yeah.
is helping me out too.
It's fun to see the
Um,
process.
yeah. And you founded it this year?
Correct. Yeah, I think it was, if I recall, I think it was like March or April I came up with like that initial idea. And then I think I had an MVP out by April, like the minimum base product.
And how's growth been?
This has been great. It hasn't been exponential, but I don't want it to be exponential right now because I'm still in the early days. The
Mhm.
infrastructure, the actual architecture of the app. Um, I have a bunch of core customers and they love using the platform. They, I listen, my main priority is not even like building new features in the app. It's just listening to their feedback. And that's probably one of the biggest things where I'm like, I just want to know what is working for you and what friction points you're hitting. And that's probably the biggest things that I've been working towards is just making the app better for everyone. I had a viral tweet recently that was like I made the world's best onboarding flow, and the onboarding flow is basically you create the API key, then it uses the API key in like a sample like code snippet where it's actually using real code, but it kind of demonstrates, and then it's like you can send the test email, then you go to your Gmail account or whatever email is associated with your account, you reply to that email, and it shows the reply below in the onboarding flow. So it's kind of like this interactive demo that kind of shows you the value prop of the product. And I love providing stuff like that because it's like you got to tell a story. You can't just be like,
Yeah.
yeah, here's my product.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I always wonder because open source is kind of scary for some people, like having your code out there for everyone, but it's also very beneficial to a lot of people. So why, Ryan, why did you open source Inbound?
There's no reason not to. It's
Yeah,
my core proposition, and this has been said on so many other things. If someone wanted to create an inbound competitor, they can. The AWS documentation is out there. They could wrap Cloudflare. They could do anything like that. I'm not trying to be the next $1 trillion business. I'm just trying to create a product for people who care. And basically, inbound being open source is great because the code is readable by everybody, the code is reviewable by everybody, and it's this is the best part, and it's happened recently. We're working on some new integrations with a company, and one of their devs was like, "Hey, this is broken. Faulty mistake by me. I accept that full responsibility." But he didn't wasn't like, "Hey, you need to fix this." He looked up the repo, said, "Oh, here it is. We were doing an
yeah,
incorrect DB lookup query." He pushed a PR for it. I reviewed it, integrated, and it took like 15 minutes for his change to go live. Tell me that that is possible with any other closed source foundation. And the other big thing that I've said this before, but it's like people are scared to open source their product because they're like, someone could steal it.
yeah,
If you get to the point of a product where it's well known and widespread enough that someone wants to steal your project by forking the repo,
yeah,
you've already got the name recognition out
yeah.
there.
You've made it.
Yeah, you've made it. So, if anything, they're just another competitor to you. They're not just going to blow you out of the water.
Yeah,
So, I think open source in any way is just extremely beneficial. And I recommend everyone to do it just because there's no downsides really, especially if you're in a, like if you're like a bootstrapped. I'm completely bootstrapped, non VC money or anything like that. It's the best way to get community feedback, interact with your community, and it's a great way to iterate.
yeah. Um, oh, and by the way, chat, if you have any questions for Ryan, put them in the chat and we'll get them answered. So my next question is, what have you like the best part of being open source? Like you're saying this little PR that came in that took you 15 minutes, but without that could have taken you hours, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe even a day, because
Yeah,
literally for that exact scenario I was out, because addition to my regular job and this side project, I also run a 3D printing company. And yesterday I was out all day is when I schedule my meetings for my 3D printing company. I was out at client meetings all day. I was nowhere near a computer. I couldn't have the time to look into the code or anything like that. But I got the PR on my phone and I opened the GitHub app, reviewed it. I'm like, yeah, that's good. And then Code Rabbit and all the other AI reviewers
yeah.
kind of gave me the thumbs up. And yeah, and I was just like, yeah, that looks good.
That's so good.
Approve.
Speaking of your 3D printing, I have to show everyone.
Yeah,
Ryan made me this.
I got a lot of those. If you're interested in nameplate, you know where to find me. But yeah.
So, what's the hardest part about being open source?
The PRs. You
The best
because
is
here
PRs and the hardest is PRs.
exactly. Because here's the thing, and I'll be honest. There are talented devs and then there are less talented devs, which isn't a bad thing. You're still learning, you're still growing, and that's great. But sometimes there's an over eager dev that sort of kind of comes out of nowhere and is like, oh, I'm going to refactor your entire code base to some other standard. And then you can obviously tell they cloned the repo,
Oh,
opened it up in Cursor, and said, please do this, make sure it makes no mistakes, go. And then you get kind of like an AI slop PR. And thankfully, I haven't gotten a ton of those as I've been primarily marketing my product towards more senior level companies and stuff like that. But I
hmm,
imagine, and I've seen it happen on other repos, but I imagine as I release more boilerplates, and I've got a video coming out this week talking about an implementation of Inbound. I'm sure there'll be PRs on it that are sort of not AI slop, but heavily AI generated that just take more time to review
yeah.
than if I actually implement it myself. Which isn't terrible, but it's just a new sort of model that we have to survive with the age of AI.
Yeah. Do you, could you, I mean, you technically could use AI to review the AI generated PRs.
I code I will say CodeRabbit does an amazing job.
Hmm.
Um, and it kind of does like 90% of the stuff, but sometimes, and there's it's a viral tweet format where you look at like the diff of a PR and it's like added 40,000 lines of code, removed 20,000 lines of code. No AI is going to accurately review that. I'm not even going to accurately review that. If I see something like that, I'm like, hey, I need you to give me like an hour long demo of what this actually does. So yeah, it's kind of both ways,
Hmm.
but AI is definitely going to help in the future of code review. Code Rabbit's definitely been a massive help.
Yeah. So, what's the weirdest or like quirkiest PR that's come in?
So there hasn't been a quirky PR, but I
Hmm.
have gotten a quirky request,
Okay.
and uh, I don't know how to say this without it sounding fake, but someone so obviously inbound you can send and receive emails.
Yeah.
Someone came to me and booked like a Cal link with me,
Okay.
and they said, "Hey, I want to use inbound to automate my email spam like sending." Like, you know, like the spam emails you get
Yeah.
of like the 18 plus stuff or some of the weird stuff. They wanted to use inbound to automate that. And I remember getting it. I opened it on my phone and I was like, wait, did I read that right? I even threw it into ChatGPT just to be like, yo, check this for me real quick. And it was like they're just trying to do spam. And I'm like, craft a formal yet concise and threatening response to them that says, no, you cannot use this. I will ban your account if you do. It
Yeah.
was like, I was like, why? But I mean, that's that's a business for you. You'll get
I mean,
those weird use cases.
that's clever to use inbound for spammy emails.
I guess, but I don't really want my SES account to get shut down.
No, no, not clever for you, but clever for them to like think of that, like, oh, I can get this just rolling and have thousands of emails going while I sleep.
I mean, I don't blame him, but
I
like,
don't blame them.
I blame me.
Good,
But
good for
yeah,
saying no.
yeah, exactly. That's where you got to have
Yeah.
background as a founder. Because here's one of the other things. Inbound does have an extremely generous free tier, but we do have to have paid plans just because the infrastructure costs for the sending and receiving. I would love if I could make it so that way I could just let you host it completely on your own and you had immediate email verification and reputation. I would love if it could do that. But unfortunately, that takes a ton more setup and bandwidth than I can do. And the worst part about it is he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be sending like 40 to 60,000 emails a week," and I'm like, "You could be on a pretty high paid plan," but I was like, "No, I
You
don't
can make
want that to be
money.
the." Yeah, I know, but I was like, I had to turn it down. I'm like, I don't want I don't want this to be what the platform is used for. It's a
Yeah,
developer tool, not a spam tool.
that's a slippery slope. Once you get
Yeah.
one, you've got them all.
I'm not here for the money. I'm just here for
Yeah,
fun. It's I like building the product. I've always loved building something that provides value to people, and that's one of the best things that I've found with the inbound journey in the open source community. And this is off script, but I'm going to say the open source program so far has been amazing. If you are if you have an open source project and you want support from like, and if it's deployed on Vercel, which it should be, and everything like that, please apply to the October later this year cohort. It helps because you get the credits and stuff like that, but
hmm
not even the credits. It helps you interact with the community and get feedback, and it's just a super 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 helpful sort of tool that kind of just lets you be more interactive with the community, and it can help you get better feedback on your app. Like how I said I was talking with users and customers, it just like in the chat we have, I demoed stuff to inbound before to the group members before I actually released it, and I've gotten amazing feedback. So if you have an open source project, I highly 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 recommend applying to it. Cap didn't pay me or
thank
tell
you.
me to say that, but it was great. It was an amazing experience, the whole thing, and I can't wait to keep on going with it. But yeah,
Right on. Thanks, Ryan. We have Jacob in the background. Jacob, if you could put a link to the open source program, that'd be awesome in the chat. But yeah, applications for the fall cohort open in October. It's like 3 weeks. Um, I'm excited. And thanks for the kind words, Ryan.
of course.
Speaking of the open source community, I always say that like the open source community is like one of my favorites because you have to just be a different kind of have to be a dev that's just like super comfortable with like coding in public, learning in public. And oh, here's the homepage. Um, the
I have a
open
ton
source
of
community is one of my
documents.
favorites.
Yeah, I
Uh, has
agree.
there has there been any like unexpected like friendships that have come from this, or like you met someone in the program or not in the program that you're like, I'm so grateful that like open source led me to them, you know?
It's interesting. So we've all probably seen him on the timeline, but Nizzy is actually one of my super close friends. I'm going to his wedding next month. And the way I met him was he initially made that post about like the Shad CN email app type layout. And he had done some very early vibe coded work on getting it just like a basic product working. This is before he got into YC or any of the other startup accelerators. Mail Zero was open source, and I was using it for a little bit, and I was like, it's slow. Before complaining to him, I pulled the repo, I looked into it, how it worked, and I was like, oh, there's a performance blocker right here. I made a pull request, he reviewed it, and made the app like instantly 10 times faster. And then just based off of conversations on Twitter and everything like that, we just started talking. And now he's one of my closest friends and
That's so cool.
in the tech community. And it's just crazy because that all started from like a pull request and some like initial discussion on X. It's phenomenal. And a bunch of my friends, it's all been like that where it's like it's an open source repo. They're like, hey, let me see your code, and then I give it to them. Like, no, don't do this, do this, do this, do this, and it's that just intertwinement of community that makes
Yeah,
it so powerful and strong.
that's so cool. Um, okay, my last like official question, but then I have a bonus question at the end that I ask everyone.
Ooh.
Everyone, this is season one, episode one, but it will be for everyone.
Everyone listen up. You'll want to
Yeah.
know the
On
answer.
my next episode, people, listen up. So if you could collaborate with any developer on your project, who would that be?
So I've been trying to think of an excuse to collab with him, but Josh tried coding on the X timeline. He's I think a DevRel for Upstash. And he's done a lot of cool stuff. He's got a personal side project like Inbound called Content Port. I think it's like an X poster and sort of like can supercharge your X experience. I want to collab with him in some way. Josh, if you're watching this, hit me up. I want to collab. I don't know what we're gonna do. I'm sure we can make some cool video. If not, I'll send you some cool swag and nameplates and everything like that, or a 3D printed version of yourself. So we'll collab some way. But I think he creates a lot of cool content, and I would love to work with him on a project.
Amazing. Just
Let's hope
like
that's
another
posted.
PR to make another like
Exactly.
relationship out of open
Yeah.
source.
Exactly. Make a PR. Come on. I'll review it.
PRs make the world go round.
They do. They really do.
I always say the world runs on OSS. That's like the thing I always like run it back to. And I think of that meme where the building blocks are up and then there's a tiny little building block that's like holding it all up, and that's like the one OSS project you're like relying on.
Right.
But it's true, like there are open source projects that are everywhere, and I like hope to be able to meet so many of them and like support so many of them. But there's a lot of these projects out there that a lot of us are relying on, and it's just cool to see that like relationships and community, and like you're going to a wedding now because of a PR that you made. Like community is so important, and OSS community is just like this sparkling light that I think all communities aspire to be.
Yeah,
So
I completely agree. Yeah, it's really crazy because not to lean into the FFmpeg drama, but it's like that FFmpeg is like that one little tiny block at the bottom of the building blocks that powers like all of like the web's video encoding, and I'm probably gonna get canceled for saying that. But yeah, it's that type of thing where it's like it's just so cool to see the community come together for stuff like that. It's awesome.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you built Inbound. I'm glad you said no to the guy who wanted to spam all of us. And I'm glad that you're in the open source program. And thanks for being season one, episode one guest. So my final question, and I might have time for two final questions.
Ooh.
What is your favorite dessert?
Okay, if you know me in real life, you know that I am a sweets guy. I am the type of guy that when we go to the restaurant, I'm looking at that dessert menu first. I always have room for dessert and everything like that. My favorite dessert, that's a oh man, that's a really hard one. I would probably have to say you can't go wrong with like the chilies, like the ice cream cake. I don't know what it's called. It's like the
I don't
lava
know.
cake thing, but it's the Chili's dessert. It just looks amazing, and every
Wait, what is
time,
it?
let me pull
Is
it
it
up.
ice cream cake? It's
Chili's
Chili's
dessert.
cake.
I got an image of it right here. Oh yeah, put that.
Chili's cake.
Look at that. That is just
That's it?
delicious. Yes, it is because it's got the hot fudge, it's got the ice cream. The cake is like really hot, and then they pop a big thing of ice cream onto it and it just melts in your mouth. It is delicious. Chili's, if you want a sponsorship, I will do it. I will. It's just amazing.
Can they have
Yeah,
Inbound for free?
yeah, I'll give Chili's inbound for free if I can get a lifetime. If I can get a little golden card that just says unlimited desserts. I don't. I'll pay for the food. I don't care about the food.
Unlimited of just this dessert
Just that
forever.
dessert. Yeah. If I can have a button on my stream deck that I can press and it just spawns one of those, it'll be amazing.
That's the future, is just
It is.
spawning Chili's desserts.
Yep.
Okay, so mine, it changes, but I just asked this question to Pauline last Friday because we did a stream about community,
Right.
and she said chocolate, or somebody in the chat said chocolate, but she doesn't like cake. But mine right now is key lime pie. But I just made peach cobbler this weekend because we're peach season, and
Of course.
Colorado has really good peaches. I made peach cobbler. I'm changing
I
from
live in
Friday
Florida.
to Monday. I'm on peach
Georgia
cobbler.
peaches come down. The that's I don't know if you guys have this, but there's a Publix, and you can
Mm.
tell when Publix is a local supermarket gets their peaches from Georgia. The peach desserts and pies and cobblers. You're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
this hits. But
this
that's a great
fits.
one. That's a great one.
Amazing. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. This was a great season one, episode one of Open Source Stories. And where can we find you?
You can find
Twitter,
me everywhere. If you just
X.
watch the timeline for a little bit, you'll probably see me post up. But you can find me on YouTube, Ryan Vogel, growing that a bit. If you're watching live, thank you. You can find me on X, Ryan DeVogel, RyanDavogel. But yeah, I'll probably pop up on your timeline because I make a lot of cool videos. But yeah, say hi, drop a link, pull a PR. Always open to help support people and give feedback.
Amazing. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Of course, thank you for having me. See ya.